I'm a public health nurse. I'm also a behavioral interventionist and a mixed methods researcher. So I present to you today from those frames of mind and reference. In this presentation, I want to highlight for you the use of photography as a potential tool in our research and our practice as we address One Health issues. It's not just, photography is not just for our colleagues in anthropology or in the arts. And I will make some arguments today to suggest for us that photography is highly relevant and could be effectively used. So what is Photo Voice? Photo Voice is a community-based participatory approach that uses photos taken by participants. The participants might be community leaders. They might be your students. They might be people who live in the community who you are trying to change behaviors with. Typically, the process will engage people across all sectors and levels, which can, of course, be challenging. It is not just about the photography, it's also about storytelling. A picture is typically not that useful in a photo voice process unless we know why the picture was taken. It is a tool that can come alongside all of the many other tools we currently use. As you can see, there is a range of ways to use photography, just as there are a range of ways to use a qualitative method of photo voice, and you are maximizing it if you use it in more of a system level approach. What does this mean? All of us are familiar with needs assessments. Many of us have been engaged in needs assessments. We talk to people, we complete surveys. What would it look like to bring photography into that set of data collection tools that we're using? What would it look like to go and advocate to a ministry official, not just with your numbers and your figures and your bar graphs? I'm going to stay here for just a minute. When you use Photo Voice, you, at the individual level in a community, you can give folks cameras, you can ask children to draw pictures, you can ask them to use their phones depending on the setting or the people using in the project. And in this way, the Photo Voice process is giving voice sometimes to people who don't have the voice, or what their children do and where their children play, where they might not be able to always articulate the process. So think for yourselves where you might be in a situation where someone taking a picture would be more effective than simply being able to talk about it. It is a civic engagement, and also you will see in the published literature, if you do a review, that folks will describe having a bunch of pictures and using them to tell a story about a problem. They might or might not have talked to the people who took the pictures. If you decide to go for grant funding and incorporate this methodology, be very clear on what the tool is and what it is not. Don't refer to it as a hammer when it's a shovel, okay? Call it what it is and be clear on what it is. At the end, you have some sort of product. You have an exhibit, you have an online website that shows the pictures, you have some sort of product that you present to whomever your stakeholders are. The people who participate in the Photo Voice project should be also participating in identifying who needs to hear the message that they're sharing with you. Maybe some of your students do this as a field practicum and they engage with students in the local secondary schools. Who are those student stakeholders? Are they the parents that need to hear a message about behavior change? Are they the teachers, community leaders? Each project will identify who the stakeholders are. You need a product. This is not a one-time data gathering, just throw it in there and it's just an extra source of data. So there's a lot to be said for how to facilitate a group effectively. Everyone thinks they can, many people think they can do an effective focus group discussion, facilitate it. That's not always the case, and similar with Photo Voice, it does require a bit of skills building. In the weekly sessions, you'll have a small group of people who have taken some pictures. I give you an example here of one technique that's used in this process. the showed method. And what this means is if I've taken these two pictures, which I have not, I took one of them of my daughter when she was 3 holding one of our chickens. So we have some questions we can ask people to get at the heart of why they've taken a picture. We don't ask them to talk about all 40 they've taken. They might pick their favorite 2 or pick their favorite 3. Some people might prefer not to talk, so you ask them to write. Let me clarify one thing. If the person didn't take the picture, they should not be interpreting what it means. Okay, in my dissertation, I included some photography as part of my data collection. I had a Latino, a Mexican immigrant adolescent boy take a picture of a freeway, a highway in our city, and he was standing on the bridge overlooking the freeway. And it was a cloudy, overcast day, and there were cars on the road. I developed the photos, so of course I was looking through them before I talked with him. And to myself, I thought, wow, he took this picture to show just how cloudy it is. Why did I think he took this picture? Shoot. I had a reason for why he took this picture in my head. It was cloudy, there was traffic. I had my own interpretation of the photo. When I sat down to interview him, I said, why'd you take this picture? He said, well, look how clear everything is here. I can see down below, I can see the cars. It was a complete opposite interpretation of me. His experience was coming from Mexico City, which is a highly polluted city. He did not have clear air in his lived experience. Symbolic interactionism is a theoretical framework that guides this approach, which is to say, I need the person who took the picture to interpret it for me. A lot of researchers want to collect photograph data and interpret it, or use it and spin it to tell their story. That, to me, is not ethical in this photo voice approach. And if you're going to do that, just be upfront about it. Here's my example from a project that I did with colleagues in Mexico and then also in the United States. We had a migrating community in a small town in Mexico sending a lot of their family members to a town in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And we looked at what in both of those communities the effect of migration was for them. And we asked those community members, the recently immigrated ones in Minnesota and those in Mexico, to take pictures and tell their story. What they came up with were very distinct themes. We did this over a course of weeks, and then we held community exhibits in both places. We also put together a website so photos could be shared between the two countries. In conclusion, I would emphasize the importance of ethics as with any research tool that we use. Ultimately, we're here because we want to promote health, we want to prevent disease, we want to change the day-to-day real-world behaviors and practices of people. That requires every tool that we have available to us. And I hope that you can see today that Photo Voice could potentially be one of those tools. Thank you.